changing dictates that waterboarding be considered torture.
Oh, so even the liberals.
Words have meaning.
Urban Dictionary.
Yes.
Bring it up.
Words have meanings, and liberals are constantly trying to change the world by changing the definition of words. So if they want waterboarding to be torture, they have to. They could say, "Hey, let's declare it torture." But since they couldn't, they decided, well, let's change the definition of torture. And so, yeah.
The action or practice of inflicting severe pain on someone as a punishment or to force them to do or say something or for the pleasure of the person inflicting the pain.
Yeah, that's not the definition.
Torture.
If you went by that definition, then waterboarding is not torture.
And they're saying synonyms: infliction of pain, abuse, ill treatment, maltreatment, persecution, and sadism.
Yeah, if you read some other definitions of torture, you will find that waterboarding would fit that definition. I don't think what you just read there fits the definition of torture for waterboarding. So
no, well, if you go with dictionary.com, they say the act of inflicting excruciating pain.
Yeah, see, that's not happening.
Excruciating pain as a punishment or revenge as a means of getting a confession or information or for sheer cruelty.
Yeah, I mean, that right there, if you go by that definition, then waterboarding is not torture. All it does is it kind of scares you into – it's just uncomfortable. And it kind of gives you a little bit of scare into thinking you might be drowning. But there's no extreme pain. It's just
they did it to you, right?
No, not to me, but no, but they do it to all people that go through SEER training. At least back in the day, they might have stopped it by now.
Probably.
But SEER training is, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it is a training that a lot of, I believe, all pilots have to go through it. It is a POW training.
Survival, evasion, resistance, and escape.
There you go.
SEER, S-E-R-E.
And a lot of people are required to go through that training. I believe all pilots have to go through it. Probably all infantrymen.
Well, why would you not waterboard a pilot or somebody going through SEER training to let them know you ain't gonna die, man?
Right, but if you're in the hands of a
Democrat, left-leaning liberal.
If you're in the hands of somebody that you know would not even bat an eye at beheading you, that could be a problem. But like if I was if I was a prisoner of the Soviet Union, and it's pretty clear they're not going to execute me, I don't think I'd be too worried about the waterboarding if I was properly trained.
Right.
Because I know that there's going to be hell to pay if they said, yes, we captured your pilot alive, but while we were interrogating him, we killed him. That's just not going to fly. That's going to be problems. That's going to be a diplomatic nightmare for them. So, yeah, I don't think that your life is ever really in danger. In America, you know you're not going to be killed as a prisoner because whoever did it is going to spend a lot of time in prison for it.
Right, right.
So that's the big thing. You got to look at it that way. I mean, we got people in prison today who stacked terrorists into a pyramid in their underwear.
Right.
The Abu Ghraib.
Yeah, Abu Ghraib.
Abu Ghraib.
Because, the mental torture
of being put into a pyramid.
Yeah, and to have a woman see you in your underwear, and your culture doesn't permit that. They were extremely, and when I say they, I mean the libs in America, was so upset that a female military member, helped to put these men from another culture, these Muslims, helped to assist to put them in their underwear and put them in a pyramid. How degrading. I think they even put them on a leash and made them bark like a dog.
Wow, that is definitely torture.
And it wasn't for anything else other than pleasure. They weren't even attempting to get information out of them. It was all fun and games, if you will. Debauchery.
Right. So the bottom line is that you got to understand what war is and what a civilized war is, what savagery is, how it all interrelates with two sides of a war.
And what are you willing to do to win the war? Or are you even, is winning this war against ISIS, is that even on the table?
Right, and if it's not, we need to get the hell out. And that's another thing. If you're worried about the way, let's say you're worried about the humanity
of war,
of how many people are going to be dead, or what about the humanity of killing so many people of a country or of a civilization that they finally get together and say, all right, we unconditionally surrender. Okay, if you're worried about that, then you should oppose us ever getting into war until you're ready to accept that.
Yes, because look at all the innocent lives that were slaughtered during World War II, and look at the amount of innocent people that died during the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima with the nuclear bombs.
Right, and some people would say, like, if we did that today, because especially like Nagasaki was kind of a military, like it had military importance.
I have a close friend of mine who's really deep into the military stuff and strategies.
Right.
And he claims that the second bomb was for Russia. That they dropped the second bomb because we only had two, but nobody knew that.
Right.
And so they wanted to scare Russia into thinking, well, we got more than one.
Well, let's pull the e-brake for a second. Let's pull the e-brake. Let's not be a revisionist historian here.
Sorry.
Japan refused to surrender after the first one.
Correct, which is insanity.
And if they had refused to surrender after the second one, we would have had some major issues. We had to look at them dead in the eye and say, there's a lot more where that came from.
A lot more.
Yeah, we got a pile of those things.
Right.
And so luckily for everybody, including especially the Japanese, that they did surrender.
As the story goes, after the first bomb was dropped, one of their scientists were flown up in a helicopter. And they asked him, said, "Do you think America really dropped a nuclear bomb? What is all this they're talking about?" And he was telling them, "No, I highly doubt it. They're decades off from that." And apparently, when he was flying over and saw the destruction, the utter destruction from one bomb, he reported back to headquarters, said, "Yeah, they got it."
And they still didn't surrender.
No, they still didn't surrender.
I think that the idea was as well, they certainly can't have a second one. And then just days later, second one hits, and then that's when they must have thought, gosh, they could have a lot of these things.
They could have 3, they could have 2, they could have 9, they could have 5.
They could have 3 now and 20 on the way. Like almost done. Yeah, so that being said, the whole thing about not needing to drop the second one, we needed a full unconditional surrender. And also there's a lot of revisionist historians out there who say, we didn't need to drop either of them. Well,
loving it.
Let me tell you something. I can't even imagine what the world would be like today if we did to Japan what we did to Iraq in 1991 when we stopped short of Baghdad and said, you know what, we'll let you guys figure it out.
Thank you, Bush Senior. Thank you, Senior.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
Did you hear the reason? I just learned this recently. The reason why Bush did not go in to Baghdad and just finish it off. This is new.
Is it official or is it from InfoWars?
No, this is, I read this very reliable source.
Okay.
Because of what happened in the highway of death. It was a little bit of this is what happened with the highway death. So the Iraqi army was retreating from Kuwait. and they were retreating with all of their weapons. All of them, all the tanks, the heavy equipment, the big cannons, everything. They were going back to Baghdad, back to Iraq, with all of their military gear, all the weapons. And so Schwarzkopf said, we don't let them take that stuff with them. Just stop them and just stop it. Completely destroy them all.
Right. They shouldn't. They shouldn't retreat with all their military equipment.
And it turns out, and I'm sure they wish that there was a way they could have informed them. Had they just left, had they just stopped right where they were and left all of the cannons, all of the guns, all of the ammo behind and started marching back without the weapons, they would have all been left to live. And instead, they were all left to die, and it turned into this situation where we looked brutal. We looked overly brutal to the world. The whole world was like, whoa, whoa, we didn't sign up for this. The highway of death. I mean, this is like, yeah, it was bad. I mean, they killed everybody, hundreds dead. And they didn't know at the time that it was just hundreds dead. They thought many, many, many thousands dead. But, you know.
I'm sorry. You're at war with another country.
So in response to the highway of death, the coalition decided, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't go into Baghdad, and that'll make everybody...
This don't look politically correct.
That'll make nice with everybody. And that's the reason why we didn't go into Baghdad.
Which makes it even worse, because now, look at the whole situation over there now. The place is a mess.
They were hoping one of two things. They were either their initial thought was the populace is going to have an uprising. There'll be a coup. They're going to remove Saddam and then replace him with a more moderate government. Come to find out,
how'd that work?
He ended up telling everybody, "Look, I win."
Right? How would you not?
We win.
Remember,
he became strong again.
Right. Remember how
and he defied the sanctions and he defied the UN resolutions. And then when they said, "Hey, you got to not defy this, or else we're going to come out with more resolutions." Well, they threatened more war, but instead they came out with more resolutions, and it ended up being 17 UN resolutions that he violated. And it wasn't until 9/11 happened that finally Bush was like, "Well, hey, let's use this opportunity to finally remove Saddam," when he should have been removed in the first place. But then you got Trump saying that we should have never removed him in 2003 because now we got ISIS in there. Here's my point. My point is, if you're going to go to war with Iraq, you get unconditional surrender and you take over that country. Or you lose.
Right.
You either lose or you win it all.
Right.
And if you can't accept one of those two options, then you step back and say, well, you know what? We're going to let them go. We're going to let them have Kuwait. We'll let them have it and hope that they don't take over Saudi Arabia. And George Bush Sr. said, had we not done anything, they were going to go right into Saudi Arabia. And they would have had all of Saudi Arabia. He said that. He said, had we not done anything, they would have had Saudi Arabia. Because he was looking at it from a Hitler standpoint.
Right.
That,
not only that, but he was also looking at it from Saudi Arabia's standpoint of view, because that's where he got a lot of his money from.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing about
the Bush
the West,
family is completely embedded with the Saudi government.
They look at the Bush family as royalty because the Ancestry.com, that's the source I'm using here. Ancestry.com trace the George Bush lineage back to royalty. They're all related.
So that explains the family tree doesn't fork; it's straight.
Yeah, I mean,
keep the blood clean.
The line,
the royal blood.
The royal line was amazing. I'm talking all royal lines. George Bush. This is a fact. You can look it up. This is reported by Ancestry.com. George Bush is a cousin to Vladimir Dracula.
No!
You look it up yourself. Vlad the Impaler is a cousin of the Bush family.
Wow.
Yeah. I was shocked. I was like, what?
Wow.
Yeah. So it's all the same bloodline.
Okay. So if you're fighting a war against somebody like Ho Chi Minh, when they interviewed him, they said, hey, you don't have nearly enough weaponry